On a Tuesday morning in November 2022, Rachel Mercer sat in the parking lot of a Walmart in Dayton, Ohio, checking her bank account on her phone. The screen showed $700. 14 months earlier, it had shown $200,000. She didn't cry. She sat with the engine off for 20 minutes, watching shopping carts drift across wet asphalt. The number on her phone was not a mistake. In 14 months, she had made 9 decisions. Well, every single one made complete sense when she made it. The math only stopped working after the money was gone. Rachel Mercer was 34 years old. She lived in Dayton, Ohio, in a 2-bedroom apartment she rented for $875 a month on the second floor of a building that carried the faint smell of other people's dinners. She had a 9-year-old daughter named Cora and had been single since Cora was 2. She had worked as an office manager at a dental practice on the east side of Dayton for 6 years, but her take-home pay was $2,300 a month. She kept a budget in a spiral notebook: groceries, gas, Cora's after-school program, the electric bill, all entered in columns. She rarely had more than $400 left at the end of the month. She had $4,800 in savings. She had been building that number for 3 years. She was careful in the way that people are careful when they have never had anything beneath them to fall back on. Her Aunt Diane lived in Phoenix, Arizona. When they weren't close, a birthday call once a year, a card at Christmas. Diane had never married, never had children, and spent 40 years working for the state of Arizona in document processing. In March 2021, Diane died of a stroke at 71. She left her entire estate to Rachel. The settlement took 8 months. In November 2021, a check for $200,000 arrived in Rachel's mailbox in Dayton. Rachel held the check for a long time before she deposited it. She had never seen a check with that many zeros. She read it 3 times at the kitchen table after Cora went to bed. She had no financial advisor. She had no family member who had ever managed money at this scale. She called her mother the evening the check arrived. Her mother said, "Don't do anything stupid." She took 2 weeks off work. She made lists. She researched. For the first time in a decade, she felt she had options, that the future had more than one shape available to her. So, if you want to see how $200,000 disappears one reasonable decision at a time, here's what I ask. Subscribe. Drop a like if this one hit close. Tell us in the comments, have you ever had a windfall and not known what to do with it? Back to Rachel. She wasn't reckless with this money. She was deliberate. That is what makes this particular story so difficult to look at. The first decision was to pay off her credit cards. $12,000, but cleared in a single transfer in December 2021. She had been paying minimum amounts on that balance for 4 years. The second decision was to leave her job. She gave 3 weeks' notice, thanked her supervisor, and left the dental practice on a Friday afternoon in January 2022, carrying a small envelope with a card from her coworkers. She had done the math carefully. At $2,300 a month, the $200,000 theoretically covered 86 months of living expenses, even without working. Now, that calculation was correct. The variable she had not accounted for was herself. Her boyfriend Marcus had been talking about a food truck for 2 years. Southern-style barbecue, operating at farmers markets and corporate lunch locations around Dayton. He had scouted locations. He had a name picked out. Rachel believed in the idea. She had eaten Marcus's cooking at backyard cookouts for 3 years, and the people at those cookouts always said the same thing. You should be selling this. She had said it too. When they sat at Rachel's kitchen table in February 2022 and built a budget. A used truck, $42,000. Equipment, permits, Initial inventory, insurance, $22,000. A 3-month operating cushion, $16,000. Total, $80,000. Rachel transferred $80,000 into a joint account with Marcus in early March 2022. The truck was purchased 3 weeks later, a 2017 Ford, a 12 feet long, steel gray. They named it Two Coals. In April, her brother Derek called. He had been running a landscaping operation out of his truck for 2 seasons. He wanted to buy equipment, hire 2 workers, and pursue commercial contracts. He needed $35,000. Rachel wrote him a check. She had not planned to do this, but Derek had helped her move 3 times, had driven Cora to the hospital at 2 a.m. when she had croup, and had never once asked for anything. She also bought a car, and her 2013 Honda Civic had 190,000 miles and had started making a noise she didn't want to diagnose. She paid $18,000 cash for a 2019 Hyundai Sonata and felt, briefly, like the ground was steadier under her. Running total, $12,000 to credit cards, $80,000 into the food truck, $35,000 to Derek, $18,000 for the car. That left $55,000. Well, she had not returned to work. She kept a spreadsheet now instead of the spiral notebook. Monthly expenses without a salary were running about $2,800. Rent, utilities, groceries, Cora's activities. She told herself the food truck would change the income picture. By May 2022, Two Coals was operating. The first month, gross revenue was $8,400. After food costs, fuel, the commissary fee, and Marcus's draw, Rachel's share of the net came to $950. Yet she told herself summer would be stronger. Markets got busier in June. Corporate accounts were still being built. She had Marcus's projections and her own spreadsheet, and together they still looked like a plan. She could see the number going down every month. She logged every transfer in the spreadsheet, every shortfall, every gap. Every month, Derek didn't send anything. She saw it clearly. She kept calling it temporary. By August 2022, her savings account held $23,000. Yet she had spent $177,000 of the inheritance in 9 months. She had not returned to work. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 70% of Americans who receive an unexpected financial windfall of $10,000 or more show no lasting wealth accumulation within 5 years. The money doesn't disappear all at once. It disappears in decisions. In September 2022, Marcus told her the truck needed a new generator. The existing unit had died on a Saturday at a farmer's market, and they had lost the entire service day. The repair estimate was $4,200. Rachel paid it. There was no alternative she could identify. The truck couldn't operate without a working generator. She transferred $4,200 from her savings account. The balance dropped to $18,800. In October, Marcus lost their regular Thursday location over a permit dispute with the city. The spot had been their most consistent traffic source, and he found a replacement location, but foot traffic was roughly a third of what they'd built. Derek had made no payments. Rachel called him twice in October. He said business had come in slower than expected. Too much established competition in the area, equipment costs higher than projected. He said he would catch up in spring. She believed him. I'll say this directly. That wasn't weakness. Trust that accumulates over 30 years doesn't dissolve in one phone call about money. And most people would have believed him too. But she updated her spreadsheet that night. The Derek column showed $35,000 in the outgoing row and nothing in the return rows. She formatted the cell in the same black text as everything else. By November 2022, The savings account held $12,400. Monthly fixed expenses were $2,800. The food truck was netting her approximately $600 a month. She had no other income source. In late November, Marcus told her he wanted to take December off. The cold made outdoor markets difficult. He needed time to plan for the following season. She agreed. That month, the $600 stopped. She paid December rent from savings. She paid utilities. She bought Cora a coat and 2 gifts and put the coat on her credit card because she didn't want to pull more from savings for something that small. Rachel began applying for office manager positions in January 2023. She had been out of the workforce for exactly 1 year. The dental practice had filled her position 6 months after she left. She submitted 11 applications. In January, she asked Marcus what the spring plan was. He said he was still thinking about it. There was a pause in the conversation she could not interpret. The pause lasted 3 weeks. No single decision made this outcome inevitable. The account didn't empty because of one error in judgment. It emptied because 9 careful decisions, made by someone who had never managed this amount before, didn't leave room for any of them to fail. In February 2023, Marcus told Rachel he was stepping away from 2 Coles. He wanted to return to his previous job. The truck was listed for sale at $28,000. It sold 4 months later for $19,000. Rachel received half, $9,500. One of her 11 applications received a response in March. A dental practice in Centerville, 40 minutes south of Dayton, and the position paid $2,400 a month. She accepted on the same day the offer arrived. She gave notice on her apartment in April 2023 and moved into her mother's house in the north part of Dayton. Her mother had a 3-bedroom house. For the first time since she was 4, Cora shared a room with her mother. Derek made a payment of $500 in June 2023. He said he was working on the rest. The remaining balance he owed was $34,500. Rachel wrote nothing in her notebook about it. The food truck had cost $80,000 to launch and had been sold for $19,000. After 8 months of operation, the business had produced a cumulative net loss, when all costs were included, of approximately $14,000. In November 2023, 2 years after the check arrived, Rachel was managing the front desk of a dental office in Centerville, Ohio, and for $2,400 a month. The inheritance was gone. This wasn't the only time this happened. It made sense. At the time,